Oh, what's up, YouTube? Back in the garage again. Been messing around with this stupid old turd of an iron head. It's a runner rider, so we are in pretty good shape there. This bike's still here. But we got the other Evo. I gotta basically trade those out, and whenever he wants to drop the 92 off, that'll stay here. That's just a stocker, beat up stocker, but this will go home, and that'll give me a little more room to work on this. Unfortunately, this long bike chopper with the girder and the rake on it, it's too big to fit on my lift and work on comfortably. It works if I get it up there and put a scissor lift underneath it, but it's kind of a pain in the ass. So instead, I want to just kind of clear up some space in the garage. I got a lot of cleaning to do. That'll hopefully be later on today or tomorrow. We'll see how much time I got. I got to do brakes on Dottie's mom's car over at the shop here in a little bit. And since we're going to the shop, what I'm going to do is, before I keep messing around with this, just to kind of get it running a little bit better, I'm going to yank this carb off. So we'll take the carb off, tear that apart, and then I'll drop all this stuff off in the chemical carb clean tank at the shop. Let that sit overnight, pull everything out, clean everything out, hopefully tomorrow, but I'll give it a full 24 hours to soak. That'll clear up the rest of that before we get any further. I don't want to mess with the timing because, one, it runs. Two, I should realistically open up the cap on that magneto, make sure the points are cleaned up and in better shape. We'll do like just a quick tune-up on this. Honestly, the last bunch of videos was just get it running and driving and see how crappy this bike was for a sub $1,500 swap meet purchase. The fact that it runs and rides is amazing to me. It has its issues. It's leaking, well, not even leaking, I would say it's pouring oil out the rear rocker box, and that's what all the smoke was in the last video. So if you're watching the riding video wondering what all the smoke was, it's leaking like crazy right here on the rear. You can see the whole thing's covered in oil along that gasket. And I don't remember if the rockers come off without pulling the entire heads. So now I know it runs and rides. We're gonna start going through and fixing all the stupid and fixing all the broken. So let me throw you guys up on the tripod. We'll pop this carb off. I will say, I really like Mikuni's for the ease of removal and the ease of disassembly. So we'll do a quick one on that. So we have not done a Mikuni carb on this channel. We've done a lot of CVs. I don't remember if we've done the SNSs. SNS stuff, there's Diamond Dozen video, Mikuni stuff too. This is probably one of the most popular carbs for motorcycles. A lot of the little smaller dirt bikes and things run like an 18, 15, 18, 24, 32. I believe this is a 38, but it's a VM round slide and they're all exactly the same. The only thing that changes is the bore and then the internal parts, but these were really popular for two strokes and dirt bikes as well. They are bulletproof unless they sit for a long time and get gummed up like any other carburetor would. So I'm rambling. Just throw you guys on the tripod and we'll rip this apart. Mikuni carb. Where's the best spot to put you guys? Over here-ish? Yeah, that'll work. Cool things about Mikuni carbs that I really like. The entire top comes off. On a CV, you can take the lid off, but it doesn't really help you. It just pulls the diaphragm area. But on these, come on, you can unthread this whole top. And this stuff, I think, is actually going to stay here. I don't know if I'm going to... We'll see what it looks like when we get this off. But if you pull the entire top off, you got your cap, your spring, your slide, and your needle, all of which are adjustable. So, big old spring, big old round slide, hence the name, and they're heavy. I mean, it's meaty. And we can kind of go through and check the rest of these. I'm going to leave this entire assembly. It will stay together if the throttle cable's still hooked up because it's going to keep constant pressure on there. I might disassemble this and then just bring it and soak it in carb clean because why not? But I really don't want to. So that'll just kind of dangle right here for now until I decide what I need to do. Typically the needle and the slide don't really have any issues unless they're stuck in the bore here. But there's that. Then we'll pop the fuel line off on the other side of the carb. Loosen the fitting. that. Slide that up so we don't lose that clamp. And then we just got the intake boot. We gotta remove the outer here. That's in your way, ain't it? Move that over there. So then we'll just pop the intake boot off, and that's pretty much the end of removing this carburetor. Quick and easy, lots of room. The Mikunis do tend to kick out a little bit farther with the intake and the rubber combo. But if you run an, ooh, this actually isn't in all the way. So we're gonna tweak that a little bit too. But there's the carb. Okay, then I'll pop off these little clips on the filter. So we got two 7/16 bolts here and here on the bottom. This will come off, and then we gotta rig up some sort of carb support for this too. But carb is off. Now we'll go over to the bench. I'm gonna try and give this bench a quick wipe down. There is oil everywhere from that stupid iron head. So this carb still has a bunch of fuel in the bowl. Well, it should. And if it doesn't, I think that could have been part of the... Oh, no, we ran this dry the other day. So there's not really going to be that much in there. I forgot I let the bike run till it died. Clean up some of these aluminum shavings. Man, definitely got to clean up out here. There's oil all over this from the initial attempt at cleaning this. So I think what we're going to do is actually just grab a pig mat and we'll use that for now. Now, I could do all of this at the shop since that would make more sense. It's less transporting and less parts to lose, but we're here. Right now, half my tools are still over there. Definitely need to clean up in here again. So we'll start with the filter. Over here, the Mikuni VM. Filter is pretty much the same. You got a bolt and a stud on these. This I don't really care all that much about cleaning up. So two 7/16. That'll loosen this up. Here, filter element's still in there, and then I'm actually not sure how this goes on here. Is that just a slide on? Never done one of these. It looks like it's just a press fit. Let's grab a gentle hammer here. How does this go on? I think it should just pound off. Yeah. I don't know if I want to mess with that part. This will still fit in the tank, so that's fine. I'm going to leave this element on just because I think it should just be a press on, but I don't want to get myself into a situation where that becomes an issue trying to get it back off. Can't hold it down because that's fighting it. Yeah, it is a press on. Okay. There we go, nice and gentle. So just keep beating it with the hammer. Looks like it was leaking a little bit out of here too. Now, we got the body of the carb up here on the bench, so I'm gonna set this down upside down. They lay out really nice. And we'll grab a Phillips head and pop all of these free. All of the vent tube lines are so old and dry rotted. I don't know if those are gonna make their way back on here or not. So we'll just pop these float bowl screws out. Depending on how long this has been sitting, this gasket might stick a little bit, like so, but it did stay in one piece. I'm going to try and salvage that, but here's your floats. You got two floats that ride on the pins here. This is a little bit different of a design than most other carbs, but those can go there for now. And then we have the normal stuff, which here's our tang for our float. So if you look, your floats have 2 pins. Here, let me pop one of these off. There's the hole that the float rides on, the shaft from the float bowl. And then you got these little pins here. They're labeled, it says up. Up means up. Who would have thought? So these floats are independent, but they float up and down on this. As fuel comes up, the float comes up. Then on the actual carb body, you have your kind of standard tang here for your float level adjustment. This rides on the float needle, and then your pin just comes through. So the tangs go down. Yeah, you guys can see that visually, but it's got a 90 and then another 90. So pretty standard from here, regular carb. We're going to pull the float pin, pull this up, and then yank our needle out of here. Ooh, it's got a little safety spring on the needle. Just keep that in place. Yank that out, and then our needle, nice and crusty. So I'm guessing that's probably been sitting for a little while. And there we have it. Now, you have your main jet here, pilot jet down in here, and then a couple air passages through the front, and then your enrichener circuit, idle mix screw, fuel inlet, vacuum port with a crack in it. So you're going to want to cap all of those, make sure these are snugged up. Any cracks in the rubber like this will cause a leak. And then we're going to pull up the enrichener passage, runs through here, through this tube, up to the linkage right here. So we'll yank all this out, and then your idle mix screws over on the, I guess this would be the right-hand side on the bike. So idle mix screw, choke passage, we're going to disassemble all of this, soak the whole body in carb clean, pull the main jet, pull the seat for the needle, and pull the pilot jet right now. Throw all of this into the float bowl. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this gasket out. I might avoid soaking this because I think the carb clean is going to eat this gasket, and I really don't want to have to get a new one if that seals. Back to the body. I want a wrench here. Metric. It is a Japanese carb. I believe it's an 8 mil. Maybe it's smaller. Nope. 6 mil. You know what I don't have a lot of? Metric tools. 6 mil. So we'll take the main jet out first. 6 millimeter. Then you got your little shield plate. Now, on the jets, what I like to do, this one actually doesn't look bad, but if you hold them up to the light, you can see right through it, through the center hole there. That's what you want to see. So the main jet I wasn't too worried about. I kind of expected that one to be okay. So I'll add this to the pile. I'm just going to throw everything in the float bowl. Then on the needle seat, this one it should be an 8 mil. Maybe a 10. I'm so bad with metric sizes now. 9. Nine mil. Break this free. There we go. There's our needle seat, which runs from the fuel inlet over into the back side of this. So that's just fine. I don't know if this shield plate comes off or has to come off. I don't think it does. And then we just got to get a little screwdriver in here for the idle jet. That's the one I'm guessing probably has more of a clog in it. How small are you? Smaller than that? Make sure you got a screwdriver that fits across the whole jet. Being brass, they're not that hard to strip out. And here's our pilot. Numbers wise, what do we have here? We got a 30 on the pilot, and the side passages of this jet are good. We can see through them this way. There's another set that way. So we're good there, but there's also a through passage through the top, and I can barely see any light coming through that. I know it is a small passage, but that's definitely clogged. So we'll clean up that idle jet. That should help quite a bit with the starting. And now we'll pull the mixture screw. Here's our mix screw. It's a little dirty. It's not going to be like a regular one on like a CV where it's got a real sharp point to it. This is just kind of a dull, blunt end. Save the spring too. So now when we go over to the shop, we'll drop this in the chemical tank, let that sit overnight, and that'll stay until tomorrow. Then what do we do here? We gotta get this enrichener passage out. So rubber's really brittle here. Try and get underneath here. Like this. Pry the rubber up without ripping it, hopefully. Like so. Then, how does this linkage separate? If I engage this, it pulls this plunger up, which gives me room to loosen the bottom fitting. 12 mil maybe? What do we got for metrics? 13 or 12? Should be a 12. Okay. So now we'll loosen up this seat. There's not a lot of room in here with the linkage still attached, but loosen this up. It'll unthread from the body, and then this whole thing's going to come up together as one little fixed piece until it's out. So unthreading the plunger, and inside we have a spring and our enrichener. This is similar to like a CV setup. A CV runs an enrichener too, not a choke. So this will all get soaked in the cleaner. Let me see if I can separate. So once it's out of the body of the carb, I can take this out of the groove. And this will come right out-ish. This little detent tab right here goes with the choke linkage. So it goes around the body here. This is what engages on the lever right here. So when you push the lever up and down, it pushes on the bracket connected to this plunger. It's basically fixed into the body of the carb. So when you pull the lever, this is mounted, and it basically just pulls up on that spring. So this will go to the carb cleaner. Pull the rubber off. That's going to stay here because I don't like soaking those in there. So that'll go in the air filter. And these parts can go to the shop along with the body. So now our air bleeds out. The last part is the mix screw. Let's pull these hoses off. They're just going to break. It's rock hard. So we'll cut these off. But the only other thing left on the body of this is going to be our idle speed, which is the big one. Again, this just pushes the slide up and down in the bore with a spring. So there's that. Then we'll yank these vacuum things off, make sure everything is flowing free. But other than that, there's your Mikuni carburetor, completely disassembled. All of these parts will go in the float bowl. Yeah, maybe we'll clean all this up too. I'm gonna grab a little box or a baggie, soak all of this overnight in the carb clean. I got a little parts washer container that I'll throw all the small stuff in. Dunk it all into the carb cleaner. You can get a gallon of it at like Napa or AutoZone, O'Reilly, whatever. Any of them. It works really well. It'll clean all this stuff up. These will come out looking pretty much brand new. Then we'll go through and blow all the passages out tomorrow. So stay tuned. I ended up splitting this video into 2 parts because here's the Mikuni all put together, super cleaned up. Carb Dip is an amazing, amazing product. Recommend it. Get yourself a gallon. It's great for things like this. Teardown video was part 1. And I ended up doing a second video on the reassembly part where I kind of walk you through base settings and things like that. Enjoy. Watch the second video, which I just wanted to keep it kind of shorter. Teardown, disassembly. Second video is going to be reassembly, but we're not doing a full assembly since the throttle cable is still hooked up on that bike, and Mikunis are great because you can just undo the top, leave the throttle cable, and everything else connected. Click here. I'll put it somewhere on here for a link to part 2. Enjoy. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.